So mainly, so around, because you know very well, the preliminary exam having two papers, the GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. In GS paper 1, so we are having 100 questions, and among the 100 questions, if you see the trend, so trend means from 2011 to 2019, if you see this last 7 to 8 years, the number of questions coming from the environment is continuously increasing. So you can say around 18% of the questions, around 18% of the questions coming from the environment, and around 10% of the questions coming from the science and tech, and around 22% of the questions coming from economy, and around 17% of the questions coming from geography, and then 16% from history, and around 17%, 17% from the polity. So if you see this like a division or the number of questions, so environment having the second highest place after the economy. So because from economy around 22 questions, and then is the environment. And the beauty of the environment is that, so environment having very less syllabus as compared to other subjects. So when you talk about history, so history is very vast, because you have to study ancient history, you have to study medieval history, you have to study modern history, you have to study that art and culture, you have to study the world history. So these all together gives you hardly 16 questions, around means 16% of the questions. But environment very less syllabus, means you are going to study only 8 chapters, and those 8 chapters are, the first one is that environment and ecology, second chapter is ecosystem, third chapter is biodiversity, and fourth chapter is that environmental pollution. Then the fifth chapter will be environmental issues, environmental issues like that ozone depletion, ozone layer depletion, climate change, global warming. So this is the fifth chapter. Then sixth chapter we will be studying that we studied already, that is environmental impact assessment, and then important conventions and protocols, then acts and important institutions, that can be the international institution, or that can be the Indian institution, like Central Pollution Control Board. We are having IUCN, like international organizations. So these are the 8 chapters. And if you are if you read these 8 chapters correctly, if you do the notes or whatever notes we have provided from Law Excellence, if you do those things, it's more than sufficient to get more than 18% of the questions from environment. So that's why, so it is very important. And in these 50 to 55 days, so you are these are very crucial days, and you are having very less number of days, and you have to study more things. So that's why, so these high yielding areas will give you most it's like a moral boost, and it will give the confidence as well. And that's why today we are conducting this session to give you the brief about the high yielding areas from environment. So then, the next one, the number of questions from 19 to from 2011 to 2019, the number of questions from environment. So in 2011, the number of questions asked from the environment is 11 questions. 11 questions came from environment. In the year 2012, so 16 questions came, means plus 3 questions added in the year 2012, because in 11 it was 11, but in 2012 number of questions asked from environment is 16. So again in the year 13, so the number of questions from environment asked is 13. 13 questions were asked from 13. And again from 14, 15 questions, and again from 15, 13 questions, and again in the year 2016, 17 questions, and again in the year 2017, so they asked 14 questions, and in the year 2018 they asked 9 questions, and in the year 2016 19 they asked 16 questions. So based on this trend, if you see the trend, we can come to the conclusion that in 2020, so there can be more than 20 questions from the environment. So anyway you are getting more than 16, that is definite, that is sure, there is no doubt. So you will be getting more than 16, because 16 questions asked in the year 2019, And if you see the trend, definitely you can expect more than 20 questions from the environment, these prelims, that is 2020 prelims. Okay, so 20% of the questions means around 20% of the that entire questions. So that is and again, you have to read very less and you will get more questions. That is the beauty of this environment. And then, so these are the, until so far means from 2011 up to 2019, in these last 8 years, so 147 questions they ask from environment. Just in 8 years, 147 questions they ask from environment. And among the environment, the topics like biodiversity, so it is most important. So same like the parliament chapter of the polity. So because from the parliament every year around 20 to 30% of the questions directly coming from the parliament. Same like in environment, it's like a parliament of environment. Okay, because every year 5 to 6 questions directly they are asking from the biodiversity. And again, and we discuss everything about the biodiversity, the types of biodiversity, and the different conservation methods of biodiversity, and the important conventions related to the biodiversity. It may be the national convention, or it may be the international convention. And again, we have discussed many things about the initiatives of government of India to protect the biodiversity. And we discussed many organizations related to the biodiversity. Okay, so like these are very important. And if something is in the news related to the biodiversity, definitely they will be asking the question from biodiversity. And what is the current affairs? Current affairs means if it is in the news from last 1 year or 2 year, so they are asking the questions from that topic. For example, if something like last year, the Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve was selected in UNESCO's map list. So that's why that is a part of current affairs, and they ask the question from Biosphere Reserve. And again, that Kuno Palpur National Park in Madhya Pradesh, that was in the news from last 2 3 years, because the government of India thinking to reintroduce the cheetah in that Kuno Palpur National Park. And that's why that was in the news. And last year itself the question came from that Kuno Palpur National Park. Means these are the current affairs. And recently there was a fire in Bandipur National Park of Karnataka. And because this is in the news, because most of the tigers were that died in this fire incident. And that's why this year report in 2019 tiger census report, so the sum of the tiger number decreased in Karnataka. Otherwise, in the the third tiger census report, according to 2014 third tiger census report, Karnataka was the state in India with maximum tiger numbers. But in recent fourth report, so Karnataka slipped to the second position because due to some these incidents in the Bandipur National Park. Because Bandipur National Park having more tiger numbers in Karnataka. So like that, you have to focus on the current affairs. So just I am giving one example of biodiversity. So at the same time, you should focus on the climate change, because again, see, from the climate change, that is global warming, around 12 questions are asked in last 8 years. And how they are asking the questions from climate change? Again, for example, the in 2015, in 2015, the government of India, has taken many initiatives to tackle this climate change and global warming issues. And again, to tackle the pollution, the government of India started the National Air Quality Index. National Air Quality Index, this is the initiative. So to tackle or to measure the severeness of the pollutants in the air or in the atmosphere. And that's why the National Air Quality Index, it gives the index, so which measures the quality of the air. Okay, so and again, that was in the news because it was introduced in the year 2015, that National Air Quality Index. And in the 16 prelims itself, they asked the question on this National Air Quality Index. So and like that, so whatever, if something is created or something is abolished, or something in it is something it is in the news, then that would be the hot topic for the UPSC. So UPSC is waiting for that, because if something is abolished or something is created, or something it is in the news like Bandipur National Park, that fire in the Bandipur National Park, so such incidents can be the hot topic for the UPSC. UPSC is not like it's not the people those are preparing the questions, they are not sitting at the heaven and they are not preparing the questions. They are also the Indians, they are also the human being, and they are also the aware of these all the incidents. And let me clear your doubt. So whatever knowledge you are having, whatever you are studying, that much study they are not doing. The people those are preparing the questions, that much they are not doing the study, but they will identify the topics from which they can ask the questions, and they will identify the topics which are in the news from last 2 years. Okay, so that's why my strong advice or my request to you people is that, so nowadays the questions mainly coming from the current affairs, mainly current affairs, and that current affairs again related to the topics like biodiversity, climate change, pollution, ecology, acts and policies, and again international conventions and energy. So again these international conventions, these are very important, and that is the most current affairs, because if suppose we sign the Kyoto Protocol, we signed the Kyoto Protocol, and that Kyoto Protocol is designed mainly to reduce the greenhouse gases. Okay, to reduce the greenhouse gases, and that Kyoto Protocol has given the different targets or the responsibilities to different countries. Like the developed countries having different targets, and the developing countries having less less obligations, or you can say less targets. So again every year they are conducting the summits, or they are conducting the meetings in the form of COP, that conference of parties. And you know very well, under UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, around 25 summits or 25 meetings are happened till 2019. And if the COP26 COP26 is decided to held at Glasgow, it is decided to held at Glasgow, and Glasgow comes in United Kingdom. So your approach should be, you should identify the Glasgow on the map. So you should see where the Glasgow comes, and which all countries are surrounding to the United Kingdom, and which all countries having the common border with the this United Kingdom, and Glasgow comes in which part of the United Kingdom, and whether it is in the southern part of the United Kingdom, or whether it is on the northern part of the United Kingdom, or whether it is western or eastern, or whether it is in the center. So like that you have to do the map working as well. And again you have to uh, trend, you have to see, or you have to track. So before this convention, before this summit, that 26 COP is decided to held in 2020, but that is 99% there is doubt, because of the corona issues. So I think it will be postponed, so let's see what happens. But if it is decided, means your approach should be, you are going to identify where the Glasgow comes, and you are going to identify which all countries are having the common border with the United Kingdom. Okay, so these are the areas from the questions are coming. From biodiversity, around 36 questions are asked, and from the topic of agriculture. And again agriculture is very dynamic, because agriculture will come in geography, agriculture comes in economy, agriculture again comes in the environment, because agriculture means it having different plants, and that plants are the part of the environment. And if there is any production like wheat production, and that rice production, jawar bajra production, that production is the part of geography. And the prices like MSP, that minimum supportive price. Okay, and that decrease in the price or increase in the price, that is a part of economy. So this agriculture is very dynamic chapter, so you find this agriculture in all the three subjects like economy, environment and geography. And from agriculture, that is related to the environment, three questions are asked in last 8 years. And again the international conventions, 21 questions they asked. And from acts and policies, okay, many acts we are having like WPA, that is Wildlife Protection Act, Environment Protection Act 1986, and we are having many acts and policies. Okay, so again from acts and policies they ask 11 questions in last 8 years. And again from the that ecology and ecosystem, biosphere reserve, and the wetlands, they asked 17 questions. And again this term ecology and ecosystem and biosphere and ecotone, niche, okay, these are very important terms and they are asking directly. Okay, so directly they are asking the factual question. So what is the ecotone, what is the niche, what is the ecofin, what is the ecotype, what is the eco species, what is the edge effect, what is the edge species. So all those terms they are directly asking, and these things already we have discussed in our RRP classes, rapid revision program classes. Okay, so that's why I am saying that just focus on the RRP classes, just focus on the material provided by the La Excellence, and focus on the areas those we are identifying from these modules. So already Gita ma'am and our Ram Babu sir are identified, or they have discussed about the polity, and Sandeep sir has discussed about the geography, and today I am discussing about the environment, and history will be discussed by, or the high yielding area will be discussed by the Sinai sir. Means these high yielding areas are very important. Just you should focus only on these high yielding areas. 99% or 100% you will clear this prelims exam, there is no doubt. So that's why you are different from all other aspirants. The aspirants of our Law Excellence are different from all other aspirants, because most of the students are applicants because just they are applying, they are not that much sincere, that they are not preparing up to the mark the UPSC is required, because they are little bit, they are lack of the awareness, they are lack of the areas from where the questions are coming. They are lack in how to proceed and how to approach. So these things you are not like, these things is not problem for you people, because you are so lucky, because with the team of La Excellence doing the very hard work to do something, or not something, it is much, we are doing much to do your work easy. Okay, so these are the areas from where the questions are coming regularly. So then now we discuss the previous year questions, that the UPSC previous year questions, how they are asking, and how to approach, and how to approach these questions, and how to maximize your marks in the prelims. And let me tell you, okay, let me tell you. So if you belongs to general merit, if you belongs to general merit, so 110 plus, you have to get 110 plus positive marks in the prelims after deducting negative marks. Because you know, if you do one question wrong, so 0.66, 0.66 or 2 by third marks will be deducted from your total positive marks. So that's why please be careful while attempting the number of questions. If you are very confident, if you know the answer, then without a doubt you please mark it. If you are 90% doubt, then please let it be for last minute. Because what happens now, most of the time, for example, if you are having doubt in question number 3, if you are having doubt in question number 3, and question number 66, just I am giving randomly, there is no any hard and fast rule. So if you are having doubt in question number 3, that doubt will be clarified while attempting question number 66. So that is the beauty. Oh, that's why. So if you are having little bit doubt, then don't attempt that question, because sometime while reading many questions you will be enlightened, you will be enlightened, and you will be getting more ideas while attempting more questions. And sometime what happens no, so you read somewhere, but you are not getting that you are not recalling, you are not remembering that point, so which you studied earlier. So that's why please please give some time for that question, and you proceed for the next question. And whenever you are attempting next questions, that time he will remember the answer for that previous left question. So that's why if you know the answer, then only you mark the answer for that question, and if you don't know, then please proceed for the next question. And while attempting the next questions, you might be remembering the answer for the previous questions, because you don't know, the god can do miracles as well. Because you are so lucky person if you have the good luck, and most of the time 99 people, you are having the good luck, you are having the good luck. So that's why if you are having the doubt in question number 3 or question number 5, please attempt next questions. While attempting next questions, you will be getting the answer for the previous left over questions. Okay. And again, the elimination method, the elimination method is very important in the prelims. So that elimination method can maximize the your total score in the prelims. So what is the elimination? Elimination means if the question having three statements, statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3, if you know statement 1 is 100% wrong, if you know statement 1 is 100% wrong, and you not aware about the statement 2 and statement 3, but you know that statement 1 is 100% wrong. So during that time, you see the options, option A, option B, option C and option D. So in all the option, in option A only 2 and 3 is given, but in option B 1 and 3, in option C 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 is given in the option C, and option D all of the above, all of the above. So these are the options for any particular question. And you don't know whether the statement 2 is correct or wrong, you don't know about the statement 3 is correct or not, but you are 100% sure the statement 1 is incorrect, and they are asking to correct, they are asking to choose correct ones. Then you can easily eliminate statement B, statement C and statement D, because they are asking to choose correct, and you know statement 1 is incorrect. So that's why. And all the three statements, that is B, C, D, they having the 1, that's why you can eliminate easily, and you can mark the option A without having any doubt, without reading statement 2, without reading statement 3. But you should that statement 1 should be incorrect. Okay, that should be incorrect, then only it will work. Okay, so elimination method is one of the most important method to get maximum marks in the UPSC prelims exam. So I will discuss those elimination methods in these questions as well. So here, so last year in 2019 prelims, one question asked from the agriculture chapter. Okay, and this question is, which one of the following groups of plants was domesticated in New World and introduced into the Old World? So here New World means the recently created, like the North America, that Americas. So these are known as the New World. And our Indus Valley civilization, it's having very old history. Egypt, Greeks, they having very old history, and they are known as the Old World. Okay. So again, why this question asked? Because of that conservation method, that ex situ conservation method. What is ex situ conservation method? So conservation of the plants and animals outside of their natural habitat, it is known as ex situ conservation. And that seed bank, which seed bank? That Svalbard, that Svalbard sea vault, that is that global Svalbard seed vault. This seed vault is in the Norway, in the Svalbard archipelago of Antarctica, that Arctic region. So why it is? It was in the news. Most of the important seeds are they storing in the seed vault, and most of the ancient seed as well as the modern seed we are storing in the seed vault, and that was in the news. That was different crops and different seeds, they are on the, they are in the news from last 2 years. And that's why directly UPSC last year asked the question about the domesticated in the new world and introduced in the old world. So here option is A, that tobacco, cocoa and rubber. So these are the groups of plants was domesticated in the new world and introduced into the old world. So like tobacco. tobacco, cocoa, and rubber, they introduced during the that our Indus Valley civilization time. So that is during the ancient time. So that's why option A is the correct option. And again, sometimes the tobacco was in the news because of that cancer. So the most of the state government, they banned the use of tobacco, and most of the states they banned the picture on the that pockets of the cigarettes and tobacco pockets. So because, and that's why it was in the news, tobacco, and directly the question came from the tobacco. Because UPSC, because there is no any hard and fast rule to prepare the questions. Just the UPSC focusing on the current affairs, and they are directly picking the question from the current affairs. Okay, so again, last year many questions came directly from the current affairs. Okay, if you are reading properly the newspaper, if you are reading properly the current affairs provided by the law excellence, it is more than enough to clear these prelims. That is 100% sure. Okay, because I'm sharing this information because so myself experienced, and most of my I already I have saw most of the aspirants and students, those cleared the exam, those are focusing on the current affairs. And again, I have saw many students, they could not clear this exam, still they are preparing from last 4 to 5 years, but they could not clear the prelims, even the prelims, because they are not reading the newspaper, they are not reading the magazines, they are not reading the these current affairs topics, and they are not identifying the high yielding areas, and then just reading the NCRTs, just reading the static books like Lakshmikant, Spectrum, and that book, this book, it will not give the result. So it was there earlier, 10 to 8 to 8 years back. It was there. Just reading the NCRT, just reading the static books, you can easily clear the prelims. But now this is not the scenario. The scenario and situations has been changed, and now the competition has increased because see the population of the India, 130 crore is the population, and out of that around 40 to 50% of the population are the youth. And you, the people of the youth, you already reached 50% of your age. Because what is the average age of the people living in India? Hardly 65 to 66 years. These are the expected age of living, and already most of you are 24, 25. Means you have already completed around your two-third of your life, and again you are competing, again you are fighting. So that's why competition is very high. And to maintain the quality and to choose the that competitive, or the people those are more able to do the service. So to identify such people, the competition is very high, and this level, this competition, like that toughness of this exam is also increasing. And what is the toughness? The toughness means when, it is tough only when if you are not reading the current affairs and you are not identifying the high yielding area. If you know the current affairs and if you know the high yielding area, so then it is not the tough exam, it is one of the easiest exam if you know the approach. If you don't know the approach, it is one of the toughest exam. If you are studied from IIT, or if you are studied from any one of the top institutes of the country of or the globe, it doesn't matter. Most of the people those are from the IITs, they are not clearing this exam. And most of the people, they are from the just rural background, most of the people just from the government schools, they are clearing the exam. Because here the IIT and rural, and like means there is no any such demarcation, but the people from the rural also, they know mainly the requirement of this exam, and that's why they are focusing on the needs and what the UPSC requires, and they are clearing the exam. Okay, so here the one question last year they asked from this topic, that is tobacco, cocoa, and rubber, because that was in the news, tobacco and that Seawalt, that was in the news, and question came from this topic. And again, so which is the largest tobacco producing state in India? Okay, without doubt you say Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so Andhra Pradesh is the largest tobacco producing state in India. And after tobacco, that is Karnataka is the second largest tobacco producing state in India. Then Odisha, Maharashtra, these are the other states, those are leading producer of tobacco in India. Again, in Andhra Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh produces more than 50 to 60% of the tobacco in the country. and that's why the tobacco research institute also located in Andhra Pradesh itself, that is in the Rajahmundry. So Rajahmundry having the Indian Tobacco Research Institute. Okay. And again, China is the largest producer of tobacco in the world. Okay. China is the largest producer of tobacco in the world, and China is producing around 2392 million kg. 2392 means around 2400 million kg of tobacco is produced by the China, and that is the largest tobacco producer in the world. And India is the second largest tobacco producer in the world, and India producing around 800 million kg of tobacco. 800 million, or you can say 80 crore kg of tobacco in India. Okay, so this is the data about tobacco. And cocoa. So cocoa, Kerala is the largest producer of cocoa, and followed by Tripura. So cocoa, that again Kerala is largest producer. And Ghana is the largest producer of cocoa in the world, and followed by Brazil. Brazil is the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. And again in rubber, if you see rubber, so the largest producer of rubber in India is Kerala. Kerala is the largest producer of rubber in India, and Tripura is the second largest producer of rubber in India. Tripura is the second largest, and then Thailand. Thailand is the largest producer of rubber in the world, and Indonesia is the second largest, and China is the third largest, and again India is the fourth largest rubber producing country in the world. India is the fourth largest in the rubber. Okay, so these are the some of the facts about this tobacco, cocoa, and rubber. Then the second question they ask from the biodiversity, and again this biodiversity is very very important. You should not skip this topic, biodiversity. And biodiversity can be it like a heart of this environment. And because around 5 to 6 questions directly coming from the biodiversity. And again, so what all you have to focus on from biodiversity. First, the important terms in the biodiversity, like in situ conservation, ex situ conservation, what is the biodiversity, and what is the different types of biodiversity, like species diversity, ecosystem diversity, and genetic diversity. And again in the species diversity we are having three: alpha diversity, beta diversity, and gamma diversity. Okay. And again, under the biodiversity we are having that different conservation methods, in situ and ex situ. What is in situ conservation, what is ex situ conservation, and which all comes under in situ conservation, and which all comes under ex situ conservation. And what are the what are the initiatives taken by the government of India, and what are the initiatives taken by the world organizations to conserve and protect this biodiversity, and what are the threats to the biodiversity, and what are the services provided by the biodiversity. So all these are the important topics you should reading from the biodiversity. And again, we are having that National Biodiversity Authority, and again we are having the State Biodiversity Authority. So like that, these are the some of the institutions to protect the biodiversity. So you will be studying each and everything related to the biodiversity. And again, most of the species that so we are having different species. Okay, like endemic species, and foundation species, and aligned species, invasive species. And again we are having the umbrella species. Again, these all also comes under the diversity. What is biodiversity? This is the biological diversity. Bio means life, and life means it is life of plant and animals, and diversity means different variety of life. What life? The animal and plant life. The different variety of plant and animal life in the environment is known as biodiversity. So that's why every year they're asking the questions from these topics. So one side they have given the question number 2. So just see the question number 2. So wildlife and the naturally found area or the habitat they are asking. That blue find Masir. That blue fine Masir it found in the Kaveri on the bank of Kaveri river. That is correct. That is correct, because this Kaveri. Why they ask the question from this topic? Again, you know very well. this Kaveri river, it is a very hot topic because this is a disputed river between that Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and most of the time these two states are fighting for this river. And that project Mekedatu, so that project Mekedatu is started by Karnataka, and again many projects are there on the Kaveri river. And nowadays the water on the Kaveri river is the disputed, and most of the time the biodiversity or the animal and plant diversity on the bank of this river also getting threatened. And that's why that was in the news, and the question they asked from the wildlife and the habitat. And again, you know very well, Kaveri is known as the holy river of Karnataka, and always, and also this Kaveri is also known as the Ganga of the south. It is also known as Ganga of south. South means South India. Ganga of South India. And again, Godavari is known as Dakshin Ganga. Godavari is known as Dakshin Ganga, whereas that Kaveri is known as the Ganga of the South. And you know very well, Ganga is the sacred or the holy river of the country, and it's a national river of the country. This river declared as the national river in the year 2008. Okay, so again that is the different history to protect the Ganga. And recently we are having the Namami Gange is the project related to the cleaning of Ganga or to protect the river Ganga. So that is there. And second one is the Irrawaddy dolphin. So this Irrawaddy dolphin mainly found in the that the coast of Odisha. It is found in the coast of Odisha, not in the Chambal River. Chambal River originates in the that this one Janapao. Janapao. It is in the south of Mou district of MP. This Janapao is the place. Janapao. It is not a pav. Pav means bread. It is not pav. So this is a Janapao. Janapao is the place south to the Mahu town. Mahu town comes in MP, and near Vindhya range, near Vindhya range, or you can say at the place of Janapau, this Chambal River originates. Why this Chambal River is important? Because Chambal River is most important because it is very famous for the badland topography. This Chambal River is very famous for badland topography. So what is badland topography? So badland topography means this river is main cause for the erosional landforms. Erosional landforms, you know very well, the depositional landforms and erosional landforms. And the depositional landforms, yes, it is good because most of the time it accumulates the sediments, and that increases the fertility. Say for example, Ganga River carries the sediments from the Sivaliks and the Himalayas, and that carried sediments are deposited in the plain area like UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and that deposited sediments are very fertile, and that soil also becomes fertile soil, and that fertile soil we are calling the khadar. Okay, khadar is the very fertile alluvial soil or the new alluvial soil, whereas the older alluvial soil or the soil with the soil which is less fertile, that is the bangar. So that depositional activity is good. That's why Ganga is known for the good topography. Ganga is known for good topography, whereas the Chambal is known for the bad land topography. Bad land topography, and Ganga is for good land topography. And Chambal River, again, it is best example of superimposed river. You know very well that superimposed river, and that antecedent rivers, okay, and consequent rivers, and subsequent rivers. So all these rivers you might have discussed in the geography. And now here Chambal River is in the news always most of the time because of its badland topography. And Irrawaddy dolphin is very famous in the Odisha coast, not in the Chambal River. But in Chambal River, the famous that species or the animal, that organism is the gharial. Gharial, this is the type of crocodile. This is the variety of the crocodile. It mainly occurs or found in the bank of the Chambal River. Okay, so gharial is very famous in the Chambal River, whereas the Irrawaddy dolphin is very famous in the Odisha coast. The second statement is incorrect. And third one, the rusty spotted cat. The rusty spotted cat, it generally found in the eastern ghats of the India, and eastern ghats located on the located parallelly to the eastern coast of the India. And that is correct statement. Here one and third statements are correct. Answer is C. Answer is C. one. So the next question again from the biodiversity, and the here question is again about the Asiatic line. Again we are having different types of lines like African line, we are having the African lines and Asiatic lines. Okay, so we are having different lines, but why this question came from the Asiatic lines? Because Asiatic lines are endemic to India only. They are endemic to India only, and Asiatic lines means this found only in Asia, and Asiatic lines found only in India, not in other country. That is the beauty of this line. And this Asiatic line found only in the Gir National Park, Gir National Park of Gujarat. So it only found in the Gujarat, and that's why it is endemic to the Gir National Park of Gujarat. And Asiatic lions will not found anywhere else other than Gir National Park, and that is a correct statement. And again that Asiatic lions are slightly smaller than the African lions. We are having the African lions as well as Asiatic lions. Our Asiatic lions are slightly smaller than African lions. Okay, and second statement says that double humped camel is naturally found in India only. Double hammed camel. Okay, so why again it is in the news? Why they asked this question? Again the Asiatic lion was in the news because of that rehabilitation, because of the rehabilitation of the lions was in the Ranthambore, and that again national park in the Gujarat, and sanctuary in the Gujarat. The rehabilitation activity was conducted by the government of India. That's why that Asiatic lion was in the news, and they asked the question. And again, why they asked the question about from the double humped camel? Because you know that great Indian bustard, that great Indian bustard, it is a critically endangered bird, and that critically endangered bird mainly located in the desert, and mainly that this one Rajasthan, mainly located in the Rajasthan, and this is the critically endangered species, and most of the initiatives and most of the governments like Rajasthan government and government of India and most of the international agencies also focusing on the protection and conservation of this great Indian bustard. And at the same time, while protecting the great Indian bustard, so that camel was also, it is the government of India is also focusing on the camel. So that's why it was in the news that camel and the great Indian bustard, and that's why question came from double hamped camel. And double hamped camel is naturally found in India. Yes, that is true, but not only in India. So it naturally found in India, and along with India, so this double humped camel can found in Tibet. It can found in the regions of China. It also found in Mongolia. It also found in Pakistan, and it also found in Afghanistan. Not only in India, but naturally it found in India along with these countries. So second statement is incorrect. And again the third statement, one horn rhino is naturally found in India only. Again this question asked because the project rhino or project Rhino 3000. The project Rhino 3000 means the government of India is protecting these rhinos, and government of India having the ambitious target or the ambitious goal to increase the rhino number to 3000 before 2022. Okay, so before 2022 they are planning to increase the rhino number to 3000. And again you know very well rhino is the endemic to again that Assam, mainly the Kaziranga National Park. That Kaziranga National Park is very famous for one horn rhino. And again, one horn rhino is naturally found in India, but not only in India. Along with India, this one horn rhino is found in Pakistan, it found in Nepal, it found in Bhutan, and some of the surrounding and neighbor countries of India. So that is not only. Because of the word only, it is wrong statement. Had it is just mentioned one horn rhino is naturally found in India, that is 100% correct statement. Because of the word only, it is wrong. So that's why that is one more trick to eliminate the statement. So one trick already I have said. This is second trick to remove the statement easily. So whenever the term like only, never, always, absolutely, so such terms, whenever you get such terms, 99% that term that statement will be wrong. but here only is also mentioned in asiatic lines, that is first statement, but you know very well, because asiatic line is endemic to India only, so that's why you can easily eliminate. And here only, whenever only, and whenever the term never, whenever the term always, whenever the term absolute, so such terms will make the statements 99% wrong. Okay, so here 2 and 3 are wrong statements, they are asking correct ones, so answer is A. And again, that is you should first mark whether they are asking correct or incorrect. Sometimes they might be asking incorrect, and you will answer the question by thinking that they are asking correct. So these blunders, these disasters never help you. So the first and foremost thing you are going to do before answering the question is, you should identify whether they are asking correct or incorrect. You can encircle that word, so whether they are asking correct or incorrect, so because it is not a problem, so you can encircle it. So first you encircle whether they are asking correct or incorrect, and then you read the statements, and then you choose the option which is correct and which is incorrect. Okay, so here answer is A. So come to next question. So again, this question is from biodiversity, and already we have discussed in this RRP program, that is a sixth mass extinction. And this sixth mass extinction, that question came in the year 2019. Why this question came? Because you know very well. So from the time of industrialization, so most of the developed countries and the industrialized countries, so around 37 industrialized countries, and these are the mostly developed countries, and these countries mainly they are focusing on the natural resources, means they are exploiting, they are doing the over exploitation of the natural resources, they are doing over exploitation of the natural, they are utilization of the, again most of the minerals, and they are again most of the industrialized countries, they are damaging the natural habitats, they are destructing the ecosystem and the environment, and again they are causing the pollution to the environment, and again they are responsible. Who is the responsible? We the human being, we the mankind, we are the responsible for increase in population, pollution, increase in global warming, increase, and again we are the main reason for the climate change issues, and again we are the only reason for again most of the environmental degradation activities, and these all, so that exploitation of the natural resources, and fragmentation and loss of natural habitats, and again we are the artificial or the man-made region for again natural disasters like earthquakes, landslides. Okay, we are the responsible. Okay, and due to these all the disasters and natural calamities, most of the natural plants and natural animals, they are devastating or they are getting extinct. Okay, and that's why, so this is known as sixth mass extinction. Sixth mass extinction, that is the mankind's over exploitation of misuse of natural resources, fragmentation of loss of natural habitats, and destruction of ecosystem. Okay, so this is the sixth mass extinction. Already we have so we have seen the five mass extinctions. And what is the mass extinction? So mass extinction means it is the extinction of the species like plants and animals in large numbers. In large numbers, it is known as the mass extinction. Okay, so come to next question. So that is again from the biodiversity, and due to some regions, if there is a huge fall in the population of the species of butterflies, that could be its likely consequence or consequences. So this is the basic or the static question. They ask the basic or the factual question. So again, the statement says that, so, due to some regions, if there is a huge fall in the population of the species, the species population is falling. Which species? The butterfly species population is falling. So, what could be its likely consequence or consequences? If the species of butterflies falls, then definitely the pollination of some plants could be adversely affected, because these are the birds mainly the medium of the pollination, and that's why the pollination activity will be reduced and most of the plants can be adversely affected. That is correct statement. One A is the correct statement. And second one, there could be a drastic increase in the fungal infections of the some cultivated plants. No, there is no such infections on the fungal. That fungal is the different thing about rather than comparing with the butterflies. So second statement is incorrect. Second is the incorrect statement. And third one, it could lead to the fall in the population of some species of wasps and spiders and birds. That is again 100% correct, because this decrease in the population of the species of the butterflies definitely negatively impacts on the population of some species like wasps and spiders. So third statement is correct. Answer is C here. So 1 and C. So like that, because you know very well, the bird numbers, they are continuously decreasing. The bird numbers, they are continuously decreasing because they are not having the natural habitat. Their natural habitat is continuously damaging. Their natural habitats are continuously exploited by the man, human being. And that's why, to protect the sparrows, the birds, the recently that Delhi government also started the Project Sparrow. And Sparrow is the again that state bird of Delhi, and that's why they focused on the protection and conservation of the birds. And that could be one of the reason for this question, okay, because the number of birds. And again that recently Maharashtra government, they declared that flying bird, the butterfly they declared as the that state bird of that Maharashtra. And that can be one of the reason to declare, so that can be one of the reason for framing this question. So here you can come to the conclusion that UPSC preparing the framing the questions, just focusing or just focusing on the current affairs, or just considering the topics those are in the news, okay. So with this I will stop here. So you take 5 minutes break, and after 5 minutes break again we'll rejoin, okay. So please take very short break, and we'll start the session at 11:15. You take 10 minutes break, we'll start at 11:15, okay. Thank you so much. So now next question is, and again from this question from biodiversity, okay. So I think you have taken the 10 minutes break, and you got refreshed, I think so. And next again 35 to 40 minutes I will continue the class, and I will finish all these questions. And at the end we'll be having the doubt session. So you can ask any doubts, whatever doubts you are having from this class, you can ask at the end of this session, okay. So we will give you half an hour so as a doubt session, and that doubt session will start immediately after the completion of this class, okay. I will take around 35 to 40 more minutes. Okay, now come to next question. So the question again from the biodiversity, and this question says that if you want to see gharials in their natural habitat, which one of the following is the best place to visit? And again, the gharial is the variety of crocodile. Gharial is the variety of crocodile. So we are having different varieties of crocodiles, like mugger we are having, okay, muggers and gharials. Okay, so these gharials are the critically endangered. So they are the critically endangered in the IUCN status. Okay, so this, that's why it is very important. And this critically endangered species gharials mainly found in the Chambal River, and on the coast of Chambal River. If you want to see gharials, you have to visit the Chambal River, and most of the gharials are present on the bank of this Chambal River. And again, this Bhitarkanika mangroves. So Bhitarkanika mangroves are famous for the that Oliva ridley turtle. Oliva ridley turtle. That Bhitarkanika mangroves mainly in the Odisha coast. Odisha coast, that Gahir Math sanctuary. Okay, Gahir Math sanctuary, and this Gahir Math sanctuary comes in Odisha, and that Gahirmat is very famous for the Oliva ridley turtle. And this Oliva ridley turtle, it is in the news from last 2 3 years. So this can be the question for this year. Okay, for 2020 prelims, the question can be there on the Oliva ridley turtle. And this Oliva ridley turtle, its natural habitat is the Gahirmat sanctuary, or you can say the coast of Odisha, the coast of Odisha, and its IUCN status is vulnerable. Okay, IUCN status of Oliva ridley turtle is vulnerable, and you know very well the IUCN means International Union for Conservation of Nature, and this IUCN. So this is the NGO. It is the NGO. It is not the part of United Nation, and this IUCN established in the year 1948, and this IUCN started preparing the red data book since 1964. So 1964 onwards, the IUCN's releasing the red data book, and red data book having two pages, the pink page and the green page. Pink page means this page having the critically endangered species, and our gharials are in the pink page of the red data book. That is very very important. And again, green pages means these pages having the species those are formerly endangered, but right now at the present they are no more endangered because they have recovered, and that recovery again is due to the initiative of the government, due to the government initiatives and the society and public. Most of the animal species are their number is recovered, and they are no more endangered. And again, that endangered species and critically endangered species and vulnerable, these three together we are calling the threatened species. And our gharial is the threatened species, and gharial mainly found in the Chambal River, and Chambal River is very famous for the badland topography. Chambal is very famous for the superimposed rivers, and Chambal is the again, Chambal is the tributary of river, which river? Yamuna. Okay, so Chambal is very important. And then Pulikat Lake. So Pulikat Lake is the lagoon. Pulikat Lake is the lagoon, and it is a famous lagoon in Andhra Pradesh, again on the border of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, but mostly it present in Andhra Pradesh and some part in Tamil Nadu. And again, this Pulikat Lake is very famous because our satellite launch station, that Satish Dhawan, Sriharikota satellite launch station is located in the island of this Pulikat Lake. Okay, so that's why this Pulikat Lake is very famous. And Pulikat Lake, again, this is the lagoon. Lagoon means, this is the backwater. Okay, backwater. Then again, this Chambal River, very famous for gharials. So come to next question. And again, next question is from the biodiversity. Because biodiversity is the heart of the environment. That's why most of the questions coming from the biodiversity. And the question says that, with reference to the initiative. So which initiative? The economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. The economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. So in general, it is very famous by the name TEEB. TEEB means the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. So they are asking which of the following statements is are correct about this TEEB. The first statement says that it is an initiative hosted by UNEP, IMF, and World Economic Forum. Okay, World Economic Forum. The first statement is correct, and incorrect. And second statement, it is the global initiative that focuses on drawing attention of the economic benefits of the biodiversity. That is very important, economic benefits. So what is the economic benefits of biodiversity? So the biodiversity providing many services. Okay, like the biodiversity is providing food, that is the direct service. Biodiversity providing the medicines, again that is the direct service. And again, that biodiversity providing many controlling services, like biodiversity, it is the very rich in the scenic beauty. That's why it is the main economic benefits due to the tourism, and due to the recreational activities. So most of the tourist people, they are visiting this biodiversity, like Himalayas, and most of the forest areas, most of the national parks, the visitors are visiting. And due to this, that is the economic it is the economic benefit for the government. That is correct statement. And third one, it represents an approach that can help decision makers recognize the demonstrate and so capture the value of ecosystem and biodiversity. That is also correct. So here second and third statements are correct, so that's why C is the correct option. And again, this is the static or the factual question. This is the factual question. And why this question they asked? Because the people know that biodiversity is the main source of their life and livelihood, but at the same time they are ignoring the damages of the environment and the biodiversity. If the biodiversity is stable, then only we the people can be stable on this planet earth or the mother planet earth. If the biodiversity is whenever there is a threat to this biodiversity, definitely there will be threat to the this humankind, or the you can say there will be a threat to the entire species on the planet earth. So that's why this is the duty of the people to protect the biodiversity and to conserve the biodiversity. But in the mad race of the development, in the mad race of the benefits, in the mad race of the well-being, we are forgetting the environment. We are misusing, we are over exploiting the natural resources of the biodiversity. And that's why the biodiversity, by year and year, by day and day, it is degrading. And due to this, the UPSC is framing many questions from the biodiversity, because UPSC knows without biodiversity, so we cannot survive. And that's why it is the means their main intention is the people, those wants to become the officer, IAS officer or any officer, the forest officer, they should know the value of the biodiversity. Then only they can do justice with the government acts and policies. If they don't know the value of the biodiversity, if they don't know the meaning of the biodiversity, if they don't know the significance of the biodiversity, if they don't know the causing factors to the biodiversity, then what is the use of that officer? Because the government can prepare only the policy. They are the they can prepare the strategy, they can plan, they can prepare the entire agenda. But who will be the sorry, but ultimately you the people, you the future, you the people who is the, you are the future IAS officers and IPS officers, IFS officers, revenue officers, you are going to implement all the provisions and policies of the government of India. That's why the UPSC is focusing on these topics. The topics those are very important, and those topics those are very significant part of our life. Okay, so here C is the correct option, and 1 is the wrong option. So we can easily eliminate option D and 1, and answer is C here. Come to next question. Next question. So again, this question is from biodiversity, and again here, kharai camel. So what is kharai? Kharai, it is the Gujarati word. It is the Gujarati word. In Gujarati, kharai means salty, salty. And salty camel, salty camel, it is not salty camel. So mainly the region surrounding to Gujarat, that Kutch, that region of Kutch, okay. And again the Khambat, that region is morely famous for the salt production, and that is mainly the salty region. And this camel mainly resides or having the natural habitat surrounding to Gujarat and some part of that Sundarbans mangrove area. And that's why last 2 3 years, so there is a threat to this kharai camel. And that's why that was in the news from last 2 3 years. And directly UPSC asked the question from the kharai camel. So what happens now, most of the time, many books they are not having the information about such camels and such questions. But you will get such information from the current affairs. Current affairs means, again, the institutes are, we are providing the monthly magazines, okay. And again you are reading the Hindu newspaper or Indian Express, whatever newspaper you are reading. Again, such information you will be getting through the newspaper as the current affairs. And you have to, you would have make the notes, but no, this is not the time for making the notes. Please don't prepare the notes. Just whatever you have prepared till so far, just revise, that is more than enough. And if you are not made the notes, don't worry. So whatever material you are having, just revise it definitely that will give the result. Okay, so in this question, the question is about Kharai camel, and again this camel is part of your fauna means animal, and that is a part of diversity. Okay, so first statement says it is capable of swimming up to the 3 kilometers in the seawater. Yes, true, it can swim up to 3 kilometers, it will swim up to 3 kilometers. So it is the best swimming, and it is the best swimmer, and that's why it is also known as Nexton. It is also known as Nexton. What is Nexton? So you know very well the 5 different aquatic organisms. So we studied in the topic called ecosystem. Which ecosystem? Aquatic ecosystem. In aquatic ecosystem, we studied 5 important aquatic organisms. The first one is that Neuston. The first one is Neuston. Neuston means these are the aquatic organisms. Those are living at the water air interface. That is a Neuston. And second aquatic organism was Periphyton. And Periphyton, these are the aquatic organisms. Aquatic means the organisms those are living in the water, aquatic organisms. And this Periphyton mainly leaves, or they are the attached aquatic organism to the plant stem and the leaves of the plants, those are having roots at the coast. So this Periphyton mainly we find in the coast. Okay, and third one is we discuss the plankton. So third one is plankton, and plankton are the, again these are the floating one, and these planktons are moving due to the force of the oceanic currents, because these planktons are not having their self locomotive mechanism, and this plankton mainly moving with the help of oceanic currents, and that's why it is plankton. And plankton can be the phytoplankton like plants, and they can be the zooplankton like crustaceans and some animals. And fourth we discuss the Nexton. These are the Nexton means they are the powerful swimmers. Nextons are the powerful swimmers. And again this Kharai camel is also one of the Nexton. And then we have the benthos. So benthos means these are the aquatic organisms, those are living at the bottom of the sea surface, the bottom of the sea or the bottom of the oceans, that is the benthos. So that is the 5 types of aquatic organisms. Here Kharai camel is one of the Nexton, and it can swim for 3 kilometers. And second statement, it survives by the grazing on mangroves. Yes, that's 100% true, because it mainly living at the coast of Sundarbans and at the coast of Gujarat. And you know Sundarban having the largest mangrove area in India, and it is followed by Gujarat having the second highest mangrove, and that's why this is the best habitat for the Kharai camel. Okay, so second statement is also correct. And third statement, it lives in the wild and cannot be domesticated. That is wrong statement. It can be domesticated, so it can be domesticated, so that's why it is the wrong statement. And see here, they are asking which of the statements is are correct. And third statement, if you know that the third statement is incorrect, you can easily eliminate option D, you can eliminate option C, you can eliminate option B as well, because 3 is given, and 3 is incorrect because it can be domesticated, and easily you can mark the option A without knowing the answer. If you know the state, but the statement 3 should be you should be knowing the statement 3, so then only it will work. If you don't know 3, then it will be confusing. Okay, so come to next question. Next question. So again the question is from biodiversity, and again it is about the dugong. And again dugong, again it is the animal, so it is a fauna. And this animal dugong, it mainly found in the Gulf of Mannar. It mainly found in the Gulf of Mannar, and this is the herbivorous animal. This is the herbivorous animal. What is herbivorous? Means they mainly eats only the plants. They mainly eats only the plants, and they are the consumers. Herbivores, they are the consumers, or you can call they are the heterotrophs. They are the heterotrophs because they cannot prepare their food by their own, so they are depending on the plants are the producers, because they can prepare their food by their own. And this dugong mainly found in Gulf of Mannar, and it is the herbivores because it eats the plants, that is the grasses. And first statement says that it is a herbivorous marine animal, that is correct statement. And second one, it found along the entire coast of the India, that is a wrong statement. It does not found throughout the coast, but mainly found in the that Gulf of Mannar region, because of the word entire. So that is wrong. So that's why I am telling you, if you get the word all, if you get the word never, if you get the word absolute, if you get the word entirely, if you get such words, no, 99% that statement will be wrong. If you know statement 2 is wrong, you can easily eliminate option A, you can easily eliminate option 2, and you are having doubt in one and option C and option D. So during that time you have to see only two statements, statement 1, 1, 1 and 3, and it is herbivorous. If you know statement 1 is correct, if you know statement 1 is correct, so without seeing you mark the option C, because anyway 3 should be correct, because 1 is correct means 3 should be correct. Okay, so here 1 and 3 is the answer. And third statement, it is given legal protection under the schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. Yes, that is correct, because this WPA 1972 having six schedules, it having six schedules, and the first two schedule 1 and second part of second schedule and the first schedule, they having the absolute protection. The species means the plants and animals, those are mentioned in the first schedule of the WPA and second part of second schedule of WPA. Those species are having the absolute protection. And next, that is third and fourth schedule also having the protection but not absolute protection. And the fifth schedule, so the fifth schedule, the species are known as vermin, means these species can be hunted by the legal authorization of the government of India or the state government. Here what happens, the state government will request the central government to declare the vermin, then the central government will declare the species as vermin only when the species, when they become hazardous or threat to the ecosystem and life. Okay, so that's why the fifth schedule of WPA includes the vermin. And the sixth schedule of WPA, it includes the plants and animals. Those are very important for the ecosystem. They are very important for the balance of ecosystem, and their over exploitation, their illegal trade and their illegal cultivation is prohibited. The plants and those are mentioned in the sixth schedule, their cultivation trading is prohibited. Okay, so these are very important. And this dugong is mentioned in the first schedule of WPA. That's why it is having the absolute protection, and along with this, so that Indian elephants, Indian tiger, Indian lion. So these are the some another endemic that endangered species mentioned in the first schedule of WPA 1972. Come to next question. So now we move to the chapters, that is a pollution and air pollution. So mainly pollution, and from pollution mainly questions are coming from air pollution and water pollution. So these two pollutions are very important, and every year you find one or two questions from the air pollution, and again mainly from the greenhouse gases. Okay, so these are very important, and this chapter pollution is also very important because this is a third point, like you can say this is a third chapter in the environment from where the maximum questions are coming. Okay, pollution and that is a pollution and under pollution, air pollution and water pollution. So consider the question here. The first question says that consider the following statements. Means they have given the greenhouse gases like carbon monoxide CO, methane CH4, and ozone O3, and sulfur dioxide SO2, and they are asking which of the above are released into the atmosphere due to the burning of the crop and biomass residue. So whenever we burn the biomass residue or the crops, most of the greenhouse gases are released. Here you should note that most of the time what happens, no, so some of the options will be incorrect, but if you are not having that option in the given statements, then you have to mark accordingly. See here, ozone is not directly released in the atmosphere. We have discussed in the pollution chapter, ozone is the secondary, it is a secondary pollutant gas. Okay, so ozone is a secondary pollutant, it is not the primary. What is the primary? So primary pollutant gas means the pollutant directly emitting from the source and here ozone is not directly emitting because these gases. Okay, okay, sir, thank you. Okay, so this ozone is the secondary pollutant because this secondary pollutant formed only when the primary pollutant reacts with the organic materials in the atmosphere. So that's why ozone is the wrong statement. But see the options. See the options. If you eliminate three, the option D will go. If you eliminate B, because the option B having three, but you know that ozone is not the primary pollutant. If you remove the D and B, you are left with only two options, that is option A and option C. So option A having statement 1, that is carbon monoxide and methane. But you know very well at the same time sulfur dioxide is also the greenhouse gas and that is directly emitted, but in the option it is not given. Okay, that's why you should mark all the four, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Even though ozone is not the primary gas, but you have to mark D here. Such questions, such one or two questions every year comes in the prelims. So don't be panic in the exam hall ki what will happen with such questions, because UPSC know very well, because they are aware of this, but they are going to check the conceptual clarity of the students. So there, and most of the students what they will do, they will skip the question. So please don't skip the questions if you are having the conceptual clarity. Okay, here in this statement you know very well the carbon monoxide, methane, and sulfur dioxide. These are the primary pollutant, and they are mainly releasing due to the burning of crops and burning of biomass, etc. And again due to the that burning of fuel in the vehicles, so that vehicular transmissions or the vehicular emissions also releases the carbon monoxide and this sulfur dioxide. Here answer is D. Answer is D. So all of the four. Come to next question. Come to next question. So again the question is from the pollution, and again we are having different solid waste pollutant in the environment. The mainly we are having the waste from the like municipal waste and domestic waste, industrial waste. We are having different types of wastes, and all these wastes we are classifying as the e-waste, the biomedical waste, and the plastic waste. Okay, so these are the different types of waste, and these pollutants, the plastic pollutants, biomedical pollutants, and the municipal sewage, and the industrial effluents. Industrial effluents means like the radium, mercury, lead. These are the very poisonous metals they directly discarded or released from the industries. And whenever these poisonous metals and the poisonous polluted water, when they enters into the fresh water, that fresh water also becoming poisonous, and that fresh water also becoming polluted, and most of the marine biodiversity will be damaged. Okay, so that's why it is the main duty of the government to protect the water pollution, air pollution. And that's why the government of India and many state governments, they started many acts and they framed many policies to tackle this issue of pollution. And in that regard, the first one is that waste management rules. So we are having we started in the year 2000 that municipal waste management rules. So municipal waste management rules started in the year 2000, and that rules mainly focus only on the municipal waste, and it was not extended to the rural area. Okay, because again in rural area some amount of pollutant you can find, but these rules are not covered the rural area, and that was one of the failure of these rules. That's why recently in the year 2016, in the year 2016, the government of India amended these rules and they renamed as solid waste management rules. So by removing the word municipal, they inserted the word solid waste management rules, and this solid waste management rules covers both urban as well as rural area, and that is the beauty of these rules. Okay, so that's why, and again we are having the plastic management rules, and the plastic management rules in the year 2016. So before that there was a plastic management rules 2011, and that plastic management rules 2011 was re-amended, and we inserted that size of the plastic. And in 2016 plastic management rules, So the government says that the minimum thickness of the plastic bags should be increased from 40 microns to 40 microns to 50 microns. 50 microns. So this is the one of the important development in the plastic management rules 2016. Okay, and again recently we amended this plastic management rules 2016, and we brought plastic management rules 2018. And that plastic management rules 2018, so it incorporated the phasing out the multi-layered plastics. So we have to phase out, we have to remove completely from the atmosphere the multi-layered plastics. So that's why these are in the news, and that's why the UPSC asking the questions continuously from the this waste management rules. Last year there was two questions just from the waste management rules, and previous to last year again there was two questions from the waste management rules. And these waste management rules are very very important for the UPSC. Every year you can get one or two questions from the waste management rules. So that waste management rules, it includes the solid waste management rules, and e-waste management rules, and third one is biomedical waste management rules, and the fourth one is plastic management rules. So please go through these four rules, and please make some important points from these rules. So what all it includes, and so who all are the beneficiary, and who all are getting effect of this waste, and what are the initiatives taken by the government, and what are the provisions are added. So all those things you have to make the short points, shortcut notes, and definitely that will give you the moral boost, and that will give you more confidence to write this exam. And let me tell one more thing. So if you are having the confident, if you are enough confident, half of the exam will be over just by confident. And most of the time I have observed many students, so they are having enough content, they are having enough knowledge to clear this exam, but due to the lack of confidence they are not clearing this exam. What happens now? Due to their lack of confidence, some most of the questions they know the answer, but due to the less confidence they will mark wrongly, they will choose the options wrongly because they are not confident. But if you are confident, even wrong questions also will be correctly marked. That is the beauty of the confidence. If you are having the confidence, definitely you will mark the right option without knowing the answer. So that's why I'm saying, please be confident. Don't lose your hopes at any point of time. If you are having any doubts, if you are having any problem, if you are having any issue, please let us know. We are here 24 and 7. We are here to help you. So that's why I'm telling you, please don't be depressed, don't lose your confidence, and you should move with maximum confidence. And that one day of exam will decide that entire whatever you have prepared, that preparedness will be decided just by 2 hours. That's why that confidence is very very important. And to get more confident, you have to read more, you have to read more, and you have to practice more, and you have to you have to focus more on the revise part, then definitely it will increase your confidence. Okay, so that's why I am telling you, please focus on this waste management rules. Definitely you will get one or two questions. Come to next. So here the first question says that in the context of solving pollution problem, what is our advantage or the advantages of the bioremediation? And you know the process of bioremediation. What is bioremediation? Bioremediation is the technique, or it is the process in which we are using the living organisms to reduce the contamination, or to reduce the pollutant level in the food chain, or to reduce the pollutant level in the organism, and to reduce the toxic level of these pollutants. That is the bioremediation. And again we have discussed, there are two methods of bioremediation, that ex situ techniques of bioremediation, and in situ technique of bioremediation. So those things I am not discussing here. Okay, but you focus on the that process bioremediation, because nowadays the government is majorly focusing on bioremediation. If you don't do the bioremediation, definitely the pollutant will enter in the food chain, and that will definitely disturb the food chain, and the entire ecosystem will be disturbed. And that's why it is very important to take care of the food chain. And to take care of the food chain, so the government should focus on the bioremediation process. And this bioremediation, every day or some alternative day, you find this term bioremediation in the newspaper. And that's why they are asking the question from these frequently mentioned terms, bioremediation. So bioremediation means it is a technique. The first statement says it is the technique for cleaning up the pollution by enhancing the same bioremediation process that occurs in the nature. That is correct, that is correct. And second statement, any contaminant with heavy metals such as cadmium and lead can be readily and completely, again this is very dangerous term, completely, always, never, mostly, entirely. So these are very means if you get such terms, 99% that statement will be wrong. Here completely, so we are till so far we are not developed that technology to remove completely. So but we can remove little bit, and again we can remove the pollutants, those are small in size. But we are not having the technology to remove the metals like cadmium and lead. So that's why the second statement is incorrect. If you know second statement is incorrect, you can easily eliminate option D, you can easily eliminate option B as well, and you are having doubt in option A and C. So statement 1 anyway that is correct. Then by closing your eyes you mark option C, because if you know one is correct, then one is correct. So then third one see here, genetic engineering can be used to create microorganisms specifically designed for the bioremediation. That's also correct, that thing also we have discussed. There are different genetic engineering processes, those are involved in the bioremediation process. So the first and third statements are incorrect. So answer is C. Answer is C here. Then next question again from water pollution. Now we discuss the air pollution. Now it is the water pollution. And what? Yes, sir. Okay, 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 sir. Yes, no, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, okay, okay. Now, uh, now the question is about the water pollution, and again this term that BOD and the COD. Okay, so these are very important and very frequently asked questions on BOD and COD. And one more term is there, DO. So DO, COD, and BOD. Okay, so what is DO? DO means dissolved oxygen. It is the dissolved oxygen. And COD means it is the chemical oxygen demand. So chemical oxygen demand, and BOD means the biological oxygen demand. So these three terms are very important in last 10 years. In last 10 years of UPSC prelims, minimum 6 to 8 times the questions came from BOD, COD, and DO. So you should focus on BOD, COD, and DO. And you should know the meaning of BOD, you should know the meaning of COD, you should know the meaning of DO, and you should know the interrelationship of BOD, COD, and DO. There is an interrelation. So what is DO? DO means dissolved oxygen in the water. And this dissolved oxygen will decrease only when the pollution will increase in the water. Okay, so if the pollution increases, the dissolved oxygen in the water decreases. As the dissolved oxygen decreases, definitely there will be the scarcity of oxygen, and due to the scarcity of the oxygen, there will be a suffocation to the organisms those are living in the water. And due to the suffocation, most of the aquatic organisms will die. Okay, and that's why when they dies, the organism when they die, again that will add more pollutant to the water. And again due to their pollution, again the dissolved oxygen will decrease. Why dissolved oxygen will decrease? When the pollutant increases, the pollutant increases, the decomposition activity increases. And for the decomposition, so it requires dissolved oxygen. The dissolved oxygen is required for the decomposition. And while decomposition, most of the dissolved oxygen will be used, and there will be less dissolved oxygen available for the other aquatic organisms. And that's why the demand for the dissolved oxygen will be increased. the demand will be increased due to the decrease in the dissolved oxygen. The dissolved oxygen are decreasing due to the increase in pollution. And again, that demand can be two types of demand: biological demand or the chemical demand. So biological demand means the biological oxygen demand. It is the total amount of oxygen required to decompose the organic pollutants. We are having two types of pollutant: organic and inorganic. Organic pollutant means it can be like vegetables, it can be dead bodies. Okay, these are the organic. Inorganic means they are the chemicals, like chemical agents, nutrients, fertilizers, okay, and pesticides, cadmium, mercury. These are the inorganic pollutant. So the amount of oxygen required to decompose the biological or the degradable pollutant, it is known as BOD. And the amount of oxygen required to decompose both that organic and inorganic, it is known as COD. So that's why it is very important. And BOD, COD, they measures the pollution of the water. So they measures the pollution of the water, how much water, means how much water getting pollution. That quantity or the level of the pollution is measured by BOD and COD. If pollution increases, definitely BOD increases and COD increases, and DO, dissolved oxygen, decreases. That is very important. Okay, so see here, biological oxygen demand is a standard criteria for the first statement says that measurement, measuring the oxygen level in blood. No, that is wrong statement. So computing oxygen level in the forest ecosystem, that is wrong statement. So pollution assay in the aquatic ecosystem, yes, that is correct statement, because this BOD measures the pollution assay or the quantity of pollution in the aquatic ecosystem. That is a correct statement. And last one, assessing oxygen levels in the higher altitudes. No, these are the wrong statements. If you know ki the biological oxygen demand, it is related to the aquatic system, so you can easily mark option C. Okay, so you should know the basic concepts, then it will be very easy to choose the options. And the beauty of the prelims is, so you are having the answers in front of your eyes. Just the thing is that you have to recognize the correct answer. But it is not the case in the mains. In mains you have to write without, means you are not having answer in front of you, you are having just questions in front of you, and you have to write the mains. And prelims, you are having the questions and you are having the answers both in front of you. So you have to recognize. And to recognize, again, the repeated revise. The repeated revise is the only key to remember and to easily choose or to easily recognize the answer from the four given options. Okay, so this is the BOD. Come to next question. So that is global warming. Again, this global warming is very important chapter. And every year, due to increase in the greenhouse gases, okay, with increase, you just 1 minute. So with increase in the greenhouse gases, with increase in the greenhouse gases, the global warming is increasing every year. And again, there is many reasons for the greenhouse gases. So the greenhouse gases are increasing due to the stubble burning. Okay, the stubble burning, this mainly occurs. Stubble burning is the mainly in Haryana, UP, and Delhi, and Punjab. So because mainly there, they are cultivating wheat and rice. And after the harvesting, they are openly burning the straw, or they openly burning the stubble. So it is known as stubble burning. And this stubble burning adding more the pollutants in the atmosphere in the form of nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide. So most of the pollutants are added. And again, from the industries, most of the sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide, okay, so these things are released from the industries. And again, from the that vehicular emissions, again carbon monoxide is mainly released from the vehicular emissions. And all these are responsible for global warming. So the first question says that, so the main advantage of use of the HCNG, hydrogen enriched CNG, is elimination of the carbon monoxide emissions. That is wrong statement. It will not eliminate. Okay, so it will not eliminate. So the carbon monoxide, some amount will be there in the atmosphere. First statement is incorrect. If you know first statement is incorrect, you can easily eliminate D, you can easily eliminate A as well. So because this both options having one, and you are having doubt in B and C. Now read the statement 2 and 3. So statement 2, the hydrogen enriched CNG as fuel reduces the carbon dioxide and hydrogen emission. That is 100% correct. It reduces. but it not completely removes. That is the correct statement. And if you know 2 is correct, then you directly mark option B. Option B is the correct answer here, because again the fourth option is incorrect. The hydrogen enriched CNG makes the fuel less expensive than CNG. No, it makes the fuel more expensive. It is makes the fuel more expensive than CNG. And if you know that statement 4 is wrong, then again you can eliminate that option as well, 4, and answer is B. Next, the question number, next question, the global, again from the global warming, and this is again the current affair question. So because this question asked in the year 2015, why they asked in the year 2015? Because this global alliance for climate smart agriculture, so this was launched in 2014. That COP20. What is COP20? The Conference of Parties 20 under UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay, so this COP20 held in Lima, and during that during that meeting, so this Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture was launched in 2014. Now first first statement. So GAXCA means the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture. That GAXCA is an outcome of climate summit held in Paris. No, that is wrong statement. So Paris, that is COP21. COP21 held in Paris, and this is not the outcome. This is the outcome of Lima conference, Lima meeting, and Lima meeting held in COP20. So first statement is incorrect. If you know first statement is incorrect, you can eliminate D, you can eliminate A. Now you are having doubt in B and C. Second statement, membership of GAXCA does not create any binding obligation. That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct. Second statement. And third one, India was instrumental in the creation of GAXCA. No, this is a global alliance for climate smart agriculture, and many countries are there to take care of it. India is not that much big country to take care of this initiative. So third statement is incorrect. The only second statement is correct. Answer is B. Answer is B too. And don't get confused between the that Solar Alliance Initiative. Solar Alliance Initiative. Again, this initiative, to start this initiative, India having very vital role. India played very vital role in starting the Solar Alliance Initiative. And this Solar Alliance Initiative started by India and France. India and France, and this Solar Alliance Initiative, it is the outcome of that is COP21 in 2015, that is Paris Agreement. During the Paris Agreement 2015, the Solar Alliance, the International Solar Alliance, that is International Solar Alliance Initiative, started in the year 2015, and mainly it focuses on the countries those comes in the tropics. Tropics means the tropics of Cancer and tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so here answer is B. Come to question. Again the question is from global warming, and first statement says that climate and clean air coalition, the climate and clean air coalition to reduce the short-lived climate pollutant is unique initiative of the G20 group of countries. So that is wrong, not G20 group of countries. Again, this is a part of UNFCCC. UNFCCC, that is wrong statement. And second one, the CCAC focuses on the methane, black carbon and hydrocarbons. That is the correct statement, and they are asking correct ones. So answer is B. Answer is B. Come to next question. So the next question is again about the ecosystem and wetlands, and here the under the Ramsar Convention, it is mandatory on the part of the government of India to protect the conserve all the wetlands in the territory of India. Because of the word all, that is wrong statement. Why? It is not mandatory to protect all, but minimum or at least one, at least or the minimum or the wetlands, those are internationally important, those wetlands should be protected, not all the wetlands. So first statement is incorrect, and they're asking to choose correct. So eliminate statement D, eliminate statement A. Now you have to focus only 2 and 3 and 3. So here read the statement 2. The Wetlands Conservation and Management Rules 2010 were framed by the government of India based on the recommendation of Ramsar Convention. No, there is no such recommendations. The government is framed by its own to protect the wetlands. So that is a, again, second statement is incorrect. You can eliminate B. Now without reading the third statement, you mark it correct. You mark it correct. Answer is C here, because the wetlands conservation and management rules truth count 10 also encompasses the drainage area or catchment regions of the wetlands as determined by the authority. That is the correct statement. Answer is C. Next question is from ecology. And what is ecology? So ecology is the scientific study of the species and their interrelations and with their physical environment. That is the ecology. And ecosystem means ecosystem, it is the biotic ecosystem. Ecosystem is the ecosystem is the biotic community in which the species are interacting each other and with their physical environment. That is the ecosystem. Okay, so here the term is about ecology. And first statement says changes in the ecological character have occurred or occurring or likely to occur in the wetland as a result of human interference. So the question about Montreux record. The question about Montreux record, and if the wetland of international importance is grouped under the Montreux record, what does it imply? Okay. So again, this Montreux record is the part of wetland. It is a part of wetland. So whatever wetlands we have selected under Ramsar Convention, and some of the wetlands those are mentioned in the Ramsar Convention will be registered in the Montreux record. Will be registered in the Montreux record only when their character, or their character means what kind of character? Ecological character. If their ecological character is getting harmed, or if their ecological character is getting reduced, so such wetlands will be grouped or listed under the Montreux record. And if their ecological character recovered, then definitely it will be removed from the Montreux record and it will be kept as a Ramsar site. Okay, so first statement is correct here. And this year again wetland is very important, because 10 wetlands selected from India. So that's why this wetland topic is very important. And related to the wetlands, you should focus on the Ramsar Convention. You should focus on the Conservation International. You should focus on the that this one, the Montreux sites from India. You should focus on the total wetland sites from India. And again, the state which having the maximum wetlands, the state which having the minimum wetlands, and the state which having the largest wetland, and the state which having the smallest wetland. So these things like that you have to think about the topics. Okay, so first statement is correct. Answer is A. Next question. The question is about acts and policies. And under the acts and policies, you have to focus mainly the WPA 1972, and then you have to study the that Central Pollution Control Board, and then you have to study the National Tiger Conservation Authority, then you have to study the National Biodiversity Authority. Okay, then you have to study the NGT, National Green Tribunal. So these are very important acts and policies, and most of the institutions related to the biodiversity, environment and ecosystem. So first statement says that the Environment Protection Act 1986 empowers the government of India to, the first statement says that, so state the requirement of public participation in the process of environmental protection and procedure and manner in which it's sought. No, that is not, that was not main requirement. The main requirement or the main objective of this act, 1986 act, is lay down the standards for emission or the discharge of environmental pollutants from the various sources. That is the main objective behind the creation of this act. Okay, that is B is the correct option. And what is the main reason behind this act? So in the year 1984, so there was a Bhopal gas tragedy. So Bhopal gas tragedy means in Bhopal comes in Madhya Pradesh. And in the year 1984, on December 2nd and 3rd, on 2nd and 3rd December 1984, so the methyl isocyanide gas was released from the company called Unite Carbide Company. That is a American based company. And through this company, that methyl isocyanide gas was released, and more than that around sorry more than 3,500 people were died in this incident. And that's why the government of India mainly created the Environment Protection Act based on this incident, that is Bhopal gas tragedy. So that's why the second statement is very important, because this fixes the standards for the emission or the discharge of environmental pollutants like that methyl isocyanide gases. Okay, so B is the correct answer. Come to next question. So again, acts and policies, and here the question is about the critically wildlife. They are asking to consider the following statements and asking to choose correct ones. And here, first statement: the definition of critical wildlife habitat is incorporated in the Forest Rights Act. That is correct. The Forest Rights Act so added the term critically wildlife habitat. So that is correct statement. And for the first time in India, biogas has been given the habitat right. That also correct. And these activities done recently. That's why they came in the UPSC prelims. And third one, the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change officially declares and decides and declares the habitat right to primary and vulnerable tribal groups in any part of the India. Not because of the word any, so not any part of the India, so in some specific regions. So that's why third statement is incorrect. If you know third statement is incorrect, you can easily eliminate B, C, D. But unfortunately you will be not knowing the third statement. That is the beauty. Okay, so here if you know the statement, you can easily eliminate, and you can directly mark A is the correct option. Come to next question. So again, the question about international conventions, and this page, this question asked in just 2017 itself. In 17, this question was asked: the Partnership for Action on the Green Economy. So that is page, and it is the United Nations mechanism to assist countries transition towards the greener and more inclusive economies. And they are asking in which convention it was emerged. So it was emerged during the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development 2012, that is at Rio de Janeiro. So in the year 1992, so the Rio de Janeiro, the Earth Summit was held, and after 5 years in 1997, so it was at that New York, and again in 2002, that is Rio plus 10. Rio plus 10 was held in Rio de Janeiro, and again in the year 2012, so that is Rio plus 20. So Rio plus 20 was held at again Rio, that is in the year 2012, and this green economic concept was emerged. The green economic concept was emerged during the Rio plus 20 summit, and that Rio plus 20 summit is also known as the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. Okay, that is B is the correct option. Come to next question. Again, they are asking the conventions and their main developments. So annexure 1 countries, annexure 2 countries, and non annexure countries, these all they are the outcome of Kyoto Protocol. They are outcome of Kyoto Protocol, like annexure 1 countries and annexure 2 countries, or annexure A countries and annexure B countries. These are the developed countries. And third group is the non-annexure countries, and these grouping are done in the Kyoto Protocol during the year 1997 in COP3. In COP3, that is Kyoto Protocol, was signed in the year 1997, and during this Kyoto Protocol, most of the countries are classified as annexure 1 countries, annexure 2 countries. They are the developed countries, and the developing countries are called as non-annexure countries. And here the certified emission reductions. Again, these certified emission reductions and clean development mechanism, joint implementation, and trading mechanism, all these are again related to the Kyoto Protocol. And third one, clean development mechanism, related to the Kyoto Protocol. So that's why the first statement is incorrect, second is incorrect, the only third statement is correct. They are asking correctly matched. Answer is C. Answer is C. So by mistake it is given B here. So answer is C. Answer is C here. And Nagoya Protocol is related to the that equitable and fair sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of the genetic resources. So second statement is incorrect. And this Cartagena Protocol is related to the biosafety. It is related to the biosafety, and these two protocols, Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol, these two related to the biodiversity. These two related to the biodiversity, and this Kyoto Protocol related to the climate change. It is related to the climate change. So that's why the third statement is correctly matched, and first two statements are incorrect. So that's why these Kyoto protocols and Nagoya Protocol, Cartagena Protocol, and that most of the Montreal Protocol, Kigali Agreement, these are very very important. You have to remember, and you have to remember. The only trick is you please write down on the pages and please fix on your study table and please buy it or you mug up, because these are repeatedly asked questions. So what is the Basel Convention, what is the Rotterdam Convention, what is the Barcelona Declaration, what is the Nairobi Declaration, what is the London Conference, what is the Minamata Convention, what is the Bonn Convention, what is the CMS. So like that they are asking repeatedly, so that's why you should focus on the these conventions. Okay, come to next question. So next question is about again Agenda 21, and this Agenda 21 is the outcome of Earth Summit, and Earth Summit was held in the year 1992 at Rio de Janeiro. And again this Rio de Janeiro is very important because this is the only city declared by UNESCO as UNESCO's the architecture city. So UNESCO's only architecture city is Rio de Janeiro, and it can be the question for this prelims because this is the only architecture city declared by UNESCO. Okay, so that's why it is very important. And Agenda 21 means these are the plan of action for the 21st century, and this Agenda 21 is the outcome of Earth Summit, that is 1992. So consider the questions here. It is the global action plan for the sustainable development. Yes, that is correct. This is the action plan of action for the sustainable development for the 21st century. And second statement, it originates in the World Summit on Sustainable Development of Johannesburg. No, this is wrong because it is the it is originated during 1992 Earth Summit. So second statement is incorrect. They are asking correct ones. The only A is correct statement. So again, the question from international convention, and again UNFCCC. UNFCCC mainly related to the climate change issues. UNFCCC, and the question is about with reference to the agreement at UNFCCC meeting in Paris in 2015, which of the following statements is are correct? So this agreement was signed in the year 2015, and the question came in the 16 itself. Okay, so the first statement says that the agreement was signed by all the member countries of the United Nations and it will go into effect in 17. That is 100% wrong because on many occasions and many times we have discussed this Paris Agreement will be implemented in 2020 only when the Kyoto Protocol will be taken away or withdrawn. If the Kyoto Protocol will withdraw, then only the Paris Agreement will come into force. Otherwise, the Paris Agreement will be not implemented. And now Kyoto Protocol is still in the force. So when the Kyoto Protocol gets over, then only the Paris Agreement will be implemented. So first statement is incorrect. If you know first statement is incorrect, you can eliminate A, you can eliminate C. And now look for the question statements 2 and 3. The agreement aims to limit the greenhouse gas emission so that the rise in average global temperature by the end of this century does not exceed 2 degrees Celsius and even 1 degree Celsius above the pre-industrial level. That is very important, and that is the main objective of that Paris Agreement, and that is a correct statement. And third one, developed countries acknowledge their historical responsibility in global warming and committed to donate 1,000 billion a year from 2020 onwards. Not 1,000 billion, it is 100 billion. It is the 100 billion by the developed countries. So third statement is also incorrect. Only the second statement is correct. Answer is B. B is the correct answer. Next question. So the question is from energy again, and this question with reference to the solar power production in India. Consider the following statements. India is the third largest country in the world. Uh, no, India is not third largest country. The and second statement, the solar power tariffs are determined by the Solar Energy Corporation of India. That is correct. The this one B statement is correct because the solar power tariffs are determined by the Solar Energy Corporation of India. The B is correct. And this question asks because in the Paris Agreement, the International Solar Alliance was launched, and the government of India declared that 175 gigawatt of energy. Which kind of energy? Renewable energy. 175 gigawatt of energy will be regenerated through the renewable sources. And out of 175 gigawatt, 100 gigawatt from the solar energy, and 60 gigawatt by the wind energy, 10 gigawatt by the that biomass, and 5 gigawatt by the small hydro. That's why this solar is very very important, and that's why they ask the question from the solar power production and solar power tariffs. So B is the correct answer here. So next question. So yeah, questions are over. Now this is the source to read environment. So already the institute that La Excellence have provided you the environment ready rockner. Okay, so that is the material already provided you people. And again we have provided that most of the slides to during the RRP. Okay, and again you have many magazines, monthly magazines. So please focus on the monthly magazines, please focus on that booklet which we have provided as the RRP. And whatever we have discussed the high yielding areas, please focus on these areas. Definitely you will be mostly benefited.